I want to talk about an issue I've been seeing for a long time now, but has become especially relevant in the light of Gamergate. That issue is how we as a society treat female victims. It seems to me that there has been a shift recently towards treating female victims as though they are saints or martyrs. If a woman is the victim of abuse or harassment, suddenly no criticism of that person is tolerated. If you have the gall to criticize one of these women for anything, you are automatically branded a sexist, accused of hating women, or accused of supporting the crime committed against her. The only acceptable idea to have about such women is one of sympathy and support. You are not allowed to question their character or their motives, and heaven help you if you question the validity of their victimhood. If you do that, you will be branded a victim blamer, for which there is apparently no acceptable defense. Now, many people may not see this as a problem. Victims do, after all, deserve some level of sympathy, and there certainly are people out there who try to blame women for their own victimhood. The problems arise when this idea of the victim being blameless is used as a form of censorship and narrative control. This is not a healthy way to have dialogue, but more importantly, as I'll explain, it may actually be harmful. Before I continue though, let me be clear. Victims deserve sympathy and support. I think almost all of us have been a victim at one time or another and understand how it feels. That being said, people who attack us don't always act for no reason. Sometimes things we have said or done provoke their actions or make us seem like more inviting targets. In those cases, if we want to avoid being a victim again in the future, it's important to recognize what part we may have played in our own victimization. This is why the idea of the blameless victim can actually be a harmful one. If, in the act of becoming a victim, women's actions are suddenly without reproach, we can never get at some of the factors that may have led to her victimization. Women sometimes do stupid things and end up being targeted as a result. That's a fact. In my mind, there are two positive things that can come out of a woman being victimized. First, potential perpetrators may see what effects their actions have and change their ways. Second, potential victims may see what led to the event and change their own behavior to prevent it from ever happening. Right now, only the first part of that is allowed to happen. Let's use a hypothetical example to demonstrate this. Woman A holds controversial opinions that many men oppose. Woman A then takes to social media to insult these men. Woman A then receives credible death threats. First and foremost, Woman A deserves sympathy. Death threats are obviously not an appropriate response to insults. Now, that's where a lot of people want it to end, with sympathy only. But I'd say that what lessons can we learn from this? Maybe we should say that Woman A never should have sent those insults on social media. If we agree that her actions may have contributed to her being a target of death threats, other women might not make the same mistakes in the future. Pointing out the potential error in her ways might actually prevent future death threats. By suppressing such talk, though, by calling it sexist, hateful, or victim blaming, and saying that Woman A did absolutely nothing wrong and should not be criticized, you are sending the message to other women that they should expect no consequences to come from similar actions. And there's another harmful factor here. If Woman A contributed in no way to the chances of her being threatened, then why was she targeted? If her actions had nothing to do with it, then the threats must essentially be random, right? Any woman could have been targeted. This idea creates a culture of fear, where women feel like they could be a victim at any moment for no reason at all. Finally, the last harmful thing this way of thinking does is it creates an incentive for women to fake or invite their own victimhood. We've seen several times in Gamergate alone where a woman becomes a victim of threats or harassment and suddenly their popularity skyrockets. I think this is directly related to the idea that these women, because they are victims, being above reproach. Plus, now that they are victims, any criticism of them can be seen as insensitive or even hateful, which means anytime someone is critical of them, they become even more of a victim, and thus are even more blameless and perfect. I'm not saying that these women faked their victimhood, but if I were a woman watching all this and I wanted to gain notoriety, it seems that the path to success is clear. Become a victim. What I think we need to do to solve this problem is to push for a return to the idea of individual responsibility and the idea that no one is above criticism. We need to stop throwing around the accusation of victim blamer anytime someone is critical of a female victim. We need to recognize that we are sometimes responsible for what happens to us to some degree. We need to abandon the idea that there is no way to prevent becoming a victim. And we need to emphasize the ways to keep women from ever becoming victims in the first place. That's all I have to say about this for now. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed it, please give it a like. If you disagree with anything I've said here, please leave a comment so we can discuss it. And if you want to see more videos like this, please hit subscribe. Again, thank you so much for listening, and I wish you all the best.